Hello there! Welcome to the fire. You know, as powerful adventurers as you are, you should always keep in mind that there's something or someone out there that might be a little more stronger than you. Also, don't tempt fate. Beware the smiling DM. Open mouth, insert snake? r/dndstories posted by Death Strike King. In my very first campaign I ever was the DM for, the story was a little hectic, to say the least. I didn't want to use a pre-written campaign and decided to do it all on my own. It was a little all over the place. I started with 4 players and by the end had 10. This campaign lasted about a year in total, with plenty of time to adjust and learn how to DM so many people. And while not every session was a smash hit, there was plenty of memories made in it that I know I will treasure for a long time. Anyways, with that out of the way, here is one of my favorite stories from that campaign. I like for the players to get to high levels, more challenges and monsters to use, and more powers the players have. Well, one day, this goes to some of their heads. At around level 14 or 15, for the whole party, they were confronted with the task of finding an object hidden in what is a widely known Fey forest. Many of them thought this would take a session or 2 to complete, and decided to try and circumvent the work for it. The party's warlock had a blazer of commanding fire elementals and decided to burn down at least a huge portion of the forest without consulting the other 6 players. Immediately, he commands it to burn down the forest. The party notices and after arguing for a few minutes decided it's not that big of a deal. One of them says specifically, "We're level blank. Unless the DM decides to throw something ridiculously strong or out of place, we have nothing to worry about from this forest." I wait for a moment, dumbfounded, honestly. I asked them if that's really the way they want to handle this, and they said yes. I asked for a short break so I could look at something. They agreed and left joking, saying this would be too easy of a session. Challenge accepted. I looked through the Fey creatures in the monster manual and noticed something amazing. Pixies and sprites. CR 1/4, tiny, Fey, and unassuming perfect creatures for my plan. I decided to use 20 of both for the next encounter. The group sits back down. I ask for perception checks. No one passed. I grouped the pixies and sprites up, and the lowest group had an 18 for a stealth check. So, they don't notice being surrounded. As a surprise, the sprites all attack with their short bows, all 20 of them. Now, while only 1 damage per hit is done, the poison condition can be applied to it. And as karma would have it, half of them fail. The warlock rolled a 4 with his natural 1 and fell unconscious instantly due to it. Initiative is rolled, and the party decides to go after the sprites when they get the chance. After 3 of them went, it was time for the first pixie to go. Polymorph on the barbarian who hadn't gone yet. Fails and is turned into a poisonous snake. Looks of terror ensue. Combat goes on, and unfortunately, this is the time of the session where the dice gods shun the players. After all but 1 character was not only a snake, but also affected by the entangle spell, many shouts of, "Now you're a snake," and "It's slither time," constantly erupted from the group. It was one of the best times I've had being the DM. The cleric, who was the last one remaining and usually the voice of reason, was enjoying himself, and it was his turn to be transformed with a nat 2. the party loses it. One saying, "Huh, we're so screwed," but he was laughing. When asked why, he explained that even with the Nat 2, he has a +10 to wisdom saves. So unless he natural ones the roll, he can't be polymorphed. After a while, he deals with the sprites, and most of the pixies fled. After returning to normal, they quickly left the forest to return to town and deal with that situation later. They come back the next day to the forest that had grown back overnight and decided whatever else was in that forest was not worth the trouble of the item they were looking for. After that, the players never made a comment along the lines of "we're invincible" at the table. And whenever they came close, someone always said, "Remember the forest/Fey Forest." They would laugh and try to be more careful, both in actions and words after that. TLDR, don't challenge your DM to be creative with teaching you a lesson. Also, remember the forest. Once again, as I have said many times before, actions should have consequences. And it looks like this party learned a lesson in humility. Also, the party should be lucky that the pixies didn't turn themselves into T-Rexes. Just saying. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. And would you kindly follow the socials posted in the description below. As always, be good, be great, be awesome.